Hello world! Hey, it's Mike White with 143. So I'm going to take a look at trying to convert an image like this into an SVG. This is actually quite a challenge. It seems simple, but the way I do it, at least, this will take some time and require quite a lot of effort. So we have an image here that's really unsuitable for printing, and the biggest reason is it's on a white background. It's a JPEG. But the second reason is it's pixelated. So, all these pixelated parts are going to come out and look, come out of the printer looking just the way they do. And that's not going to be a great look. So the first thing we want to do is actually shrink this image down and try to get rid of this pixelization. Now, see it, all around the design actually, but I mean worse, the worst parts are like right here in this stroke of this B right here. So, and kind of around these pom-poms and up around the top of the bow. Okay, so now we have the file open in Photoshop, so I'm just going to shrink it down, and I'm just looking in the image size preview until I see, what I think are crisp, clear details, and this is just, somewhat personal preference. Some it's just your eye, like you just kind of eyeball it, as my dad would say, and you can't go too small or you're going to lose critical details. And at this case, I think that I'm at 500. I think that's a pretty good size for this. I mean, there's parts of this that we're going to have to manually fix anyway. This should be a good starting point. So let's just shrink it down to 500. Okay, and now I've just pulled the image over into Gigapixel AI to upscale it, and you can really see what we're up against with this image now. This is blurry and messy, and it's got all sorts of problems. And some of this is just what's coming from the JPEG artifacts. Because it lived part of its life as a JPEG, and just some of it's just unavoidable. Unfortunately, there's really nothing you can do to not have to deal with these problems, and really needs to be remade from scratch to actually get rid of all the issues that I see with this file. I would just redraw large elements of this, but I'm going to show you what I can do without redrawing, and might have to do a little bit of redrawing, like I said. So stay tuned. Oh, if you don't have Gigapixel, what are we using? We're using Pixel Cut. So this website, create.pixelcut.ai/upscaler, has a free upscaler, and they try to sell you their services, but for now at least they're providing free upscaling, and they can get to 4x, and the quality's pretty good. Let's see what it does with this one. So if you don't have Gigapixel, then you can still get a pretty clean upscale. Actually, this is a great upscale. Parts of this are looking better than the one from Gigapixel in this case. So, I might actually use this instead of doing the one that I'm doing. And I actually just upscaled this one from the original. So, yeah, this is why experimentation helps, right? Okay, let's roll with this one. Okay, so now we've got that upscaled image from Pixel Cut pulled open in Photoshop, and we're just going to clean up the obvious stuff. So, right in here, we got this white line, so we're just going to paint white. Let's just reset our colors, and we're just going to paint white and get rid of this line. And it's helpful to get zoomed in there if you want to be precise. Boom. Just got to start, just kind of starting to take control of the document and take ownership of it. So, all right. So the first thing I want to think about is like the overall outline and where those edges should end and begin. And so let's just I'm going to grab my magic wand. I'm going to do 80, and I'm just going to select. And I'm just kind of taking a look at everything and seeing where we might have an issue. It looks like right in there, right in there. I'm looking at the selection. I think it looks pretty good. I mean, there might be some parts of this that we don't want. to select. And so I'm just going to use my lasso tool and just going to kind of cut in and take back. No, I think that looks good. Well, actually, this might look good right here. And then what if we just come right across here? You know, we're just trying to decide where our edges are. And I don't like this getting so far in right here. So let's just come right across this and then just come around. And this part actually looks like it should come out. Yeah, and stuff like this. You know, let's just come right across here. Let's come right across. And just keep that part. And same thing over here. You know, let's just find a place and make a cut. So I'm using holding Alt and just deselecting the sections where I don't want it to come in past. And this is such a subjective process. I mean, this is something where, you know, just individual taste and your own, what you're looking for out of the design will make a big difference. You know, and I'm just looking in here. Yeah, that's all fine. I mean, let's just keep all that solid. Okay, and then we need to just hit, well, we need to turn it into an actual layer by clicking that little lock icon and then hit delete. And then we don't need these sidebars. So we'll just get rid of those. And I'm just holding Shift and select when I want to add to my selection. So you don't have to make all your selection at once. All right, so now we've kind of got, you know, a cleaned up image that's fairly isolated. And we're gonna look at turning this into an SVG. Let's trim it and see what size this is. So image size, so it could print at the quality that we see here. You know, in this case, you know, 1700 pixels wide. So what would that be? That'd be about 6 inches, and it would still be good quality. And you could probably push that to 8 inches, but it's not big enough to do, like, you know, my target's always at 12 by 12. We can get it to 12 by 12, then we can do anything from there. So we're going to keep working on it. So I trimmed it to get down to size, but now I'm going to bump it out just a little bit. I just like to have a little working room. That way I make sure things don't get cut off. So I just increased the canvas size by 50 pixels. And I'm just going to put a stroke on this. So we're going to do a stroke. And we're going to do on the center. And that's going to, you know, kind of be on the center of the line. And we're not going to do much. You know, we're just going to give it a little bit of edge all the way around the design. I said not much, and then I did that. So that's 10 pixels. That's 10 inside or 5 inside and 5 outside. So all the way around this edge, you know, that's adding, you know, 5 pixels. And that's a lot, actually, the way when I turn it on and off. That I feel like that's too much. So I'm going to go down to 6. And what that's going to do is just beef up the design. Let me make sure that stroke is on the center. Yeah, it is. Okay, so we're going to go down more. I'm going to go to 4 because I just don't want that much, but I do want a little extra edge. And I'm looking at places like up here. You know, I really want this to be smoothed out. So let's look at actually smoothing that part of the bow, and let's keep looking at what this does to the design, because it can sometimes, you know, mess things up. But I think in this case, it's just thickening up the lines and helping the outer edge, which we need to stay focused on with things like this. So these areas, like this area up at the top, you know, it's going to get a lot of scrutiny just because it's the top of the design. And so it's really important for, like, you know, this edgy stuff to be removed. You want it to be smooth. And if we do end up converting this to an SVG, you know, that'll help smooth some of this out. But you know, I really don't like some of this edginess up here, and I'm just taking the eraser tool and just, you know, even though there's that stroke there, I'm just kind of getting in and finding the edge. And this is really detailed and probably a little bit picky, but, you know, just trying to do the best job I possibly can. So I'm having to erase a little past where you think I should, because I'm having to get into, you know, the actual pixels, you know, because we're seeing that outer stroke. But sometimes this little stroke being around while you're doing the erasing just kind of helps you smooth things out. It's interesting. So, all right, so that's working right there. That's got me satisfied at least. So when you think in terms of creating an SVG, you want to think of your stack. You know, that's what I call it, is the stack. And you know, we're going to, you know, first just make the black layer. So I'm going to rasterize this stroke, and then I'm going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to pull it down below, and I'm going to call it black. And I'm just going to put a color overlay on it. So, you know, I'm just going to put a black color overlay, make sure that's pure black, and hit OK. And that is our outline that we're going to trace here in just a second. And then let's open up this. Now we want to select all of our white areas. You know, that's well, red would be, you know, I talked about the stack and then I just ignored it. The red areas actually would be the ones that we want to select at this point. And there's a few different ways we can do that. With this image, we might be able to get them all. Let's turn up our tolerance a little bit. Let's just go to 90 and uncheck contiguous and see if just one click is going to really get our red the way we want it to. And this works so much better because we upscaled it than it would if we had not. And so I'm just looking at areas and thinking, okay, I don't want that. I'm actually pretty happy with the way that selection went. But I don't want some of this. So I'm just using different tools. This is the marquee tool. I'm going to, you know, select, you know, deselect that and just go over the image and get the parts that I don't want selected, because, you know, in this case, with that contiguous box unchecked, contiguous just kind of restricts the selection. And I don't want to select this. Let's just get rid of it. Contiguous restricts the selection to pixels that are actually adjoining. And with that box unchecked, I mean, it just kind of runs wild over the whole document and grabs everything it can. Yeah, like we probably don't want these little pieces. I just saw this one. We'll get rid of that. And you can spend a lot of time or a little time on this and you know, just marginally affect the quality depending on how long you spend, you know, just the outcome. I'm not sure if I want, yeah, I don't mind those. I mean, they're just kind of completing the B. I'm going to get rid of them. I can't stand it. Here we go. Let's just get rid of those. Just kind of make it less messy in there. And yeah, this looks like something worth trying. You know, we're just kind of sharpening things up. Oh, I see a little mess right there, and we'll just use our lasso tool and just draw it right out. So we could, there's some more. You can really do this for hours. Oh, I see it everywhere now, of course. The more you see, the more you find, it seems like. And so let's just kind of get rid of this. Oh, here's a little. You all are probably spotting even more than I'm seeing. You know, and things like this, like, you know, just draw the shape that you'd prefer to see. as needed. Okay, so let's call that our red. And I'm going to copy that from this layer and then paste it. So now if we turn everything off, we can see just the red we've got. And you could even fine tune it more now. Sometimes this helps isolate things, and so where you can really see the flaws. Yeah, and I really don't like that. So if I want to draw a straight line with my eraser, I'm just going to hold Shift and click in one area, and then you click and then you Shift click to draw a straight line. So let's also convert that to black, and that might even identify more problems, but it looks pretty good. So we'll just drag that down below, turn it off, and now we're going to do our white the same way. Yep. And let's do, I'm going to try that same, contiguous, unchecked selection. So let's just turn it off. I'm hitting Control D to deselect. And then I've just selected everything that's white. And I don't think we're going to have as much fine tuning with this. I was really worried about this thin part here, but that looks like that's gone real well with that 90 setting. It's really high, so it's dug in there and got all those little pieces. And I'm actually real comfortable with this. Let's just see what we get. So Control C, Control Shift V, and then let's convert that to black. And I do see little specks and pieces that we might not want. Just might end up looking a little messy. And it might not get traced at all. So if I just do, if I relax on this, I might be okay. I'm a little particular, and I know that. So I'm just kind of getting rid of the tiny little pieces that I think might end up not looking good. Or we might not need them. Yeah, we don't need that. Let's get rid of that. So I'm just going to delete all that. And you could do that again, like I said, for hours. And I might do this a little longer if this was my own project, but I'm just trying to do this to help a friend. So now we have our 3 layers. We don't need this one anymore. And this is our white. And this is our red. And this is our black, and all lined up. They fully cover the document, which is great. So we'll just start out exporting the bottom layer. So we'll just export. Quick export as PNG, and I'm going to call this cheer. Yep, 4x black, and then we're going to do the red layer. I'm not sure why I'm still seeing that. Okay, I had that on, and I didn't want that on. So let's just make sure and re-export our black layer. Boop. I didn't want that back original layer on. I didn't realize it was on until I turned off the black layer. So now we'll call this red. All right. And then we'll call this one white. All right. And then we're going to pop open Inkscape. And I already had a project up there, but we'll just start a new document. And I always zoom out a little bit and then place the elements. Oh, let's just do this. Let's do document properties. And let's change to px, because I don't think in terms of millimeters, I think in terms of pixels. And then I've got my image folder here. And I'm just going to drag the black layer on and hit OK. And then I'm going to hit Control-Shift-R. I have to click the layer, I guess. Control-Shift-R. and that's sized the entire document to it's sized the document, the Inkscape document, to the size of that image. And now I just drag the red on, and I'm just dragging on the white, and you can't see any of it, but that's okay. So now we're just going to make sure we align these perfectly, and they looked like they snapped right on there, but I just wanted to show you the align and distribute relative to the page. We'll line them up in case they popped on in a way that you didn't want. So this should be our black. So we're just going to trace it. And then we're going to go back to our layers. And then this, and I'll call this black. I like to stay a little organized. And then we'll just select this. And this is trace bitmap. It's under path, trace bitmap. And then we're just going to apply on this. And so we think that's our red. And then here's this one, and we'll trace that one, and we think that's our white. And then I'm just going to ditch these images. So I'm just selecting the image and hitting delete. This is in the layers and objects, which is under object, layers and objects. Okay, and now we're going to come down and we're going to grab our original JPEG. Always good to go back to the original for this step. And I'm just dragging it out to make it look bigger. And we'll just kind of get more into the viewport here. And I'm going to select the black, and I don't need to do anything because it's already black. I'll select the red, and then I'll switch to my fill and stroke, and that's under, is it object? Yeah, object, fill and stroke. Everything's under object. And we're just going to select this red color, and then I'm going to select the white, and we're just going to select this white color, and boom, we have converted this into an SVG, and we want to select nothing and then hit Control-Shift-R, and that'll trim perfectly around. We wanted to keep it the other way in case, because we were stacking up the layers, but I think that this is a good SVG. It's certainly much better than the original, and you can come in here and edit the paths and make things look really nice. Everything's a path now, so you could edit the points and go to town if you'd like. But I think that this is pretty good. And so now let's talk about using it in the layout designer. So something like this, we're just going to call this Bobcats Cheer SVG. And I like to set the size. So I'm just going to select everything and lock it aspect ratio wise, and now we're dealing with pixels. So I like to do 3600. I mean, and I don't need to do 3600 wide if my subject is taller. So I'm just going to do 3600 by 3023, and then this is really picky and not necessary. But I hate having these little half pixels, so I'm going to unlock it and actually distort it by just 0.5 pixels. So now I've got 3023 by 3600, and so now I'm going to select it and do Control-Shift-R, and that'll fit it to the document, to the stage, and the document's exactly that right size. And what that's going to do is just make it simpler and easier, where I to pop this in the layout designer. And what I mean by that is if I've got, say I'm doing a gang sheet, having that SVG size set is just really nice, because it should, pop on. Oh my gosh, I just drug it in there like you could actually do that. We need that feature. But it'll just pop on at the size that I've got it set up at. So it's popping on 10.1 by 12 inches high. It was 12 inches high because it was 3600 pixels. So that's a great size. You're ready to duplicate and just gang this out. And since it's an SVG, the quality is going to be 100% perfect. All right, so there's one other thing I want to show you, and that's if you need to turn this into a PNG, you certainly can, and you just want to go to export. I like to kind of switch back and forth between document and page. I'm not really sure what the difference is. I think the page is like the design, and the document is like the outer edges of the document, and in this case they're exactly the same, but switching between these just kind of resets Inkscape, it makes it realize where it is. And I would just do the same thing. I would change this to 3600. Don't worry about the DPI, just worry about the pixel dimensions. That's all that matters. And then, 3023, 3600. And then I would just export this. I'd change this to PNG and just hit export. So that's it. All right. Well, I'm going to share this back with my friend and see if it's okay if I put this on YouTube. And anyway, you guys have a great day. I hope you learned something. And thanks for watching. Take care.